boss is back.
Now, Elon Musk has brushed off Twitter execs' suggestion. They wanted to just fire mostly white people, right? So to avoid lawsuits. And, he's not going to do that. Now, actually, on October 28th, after completing his $44 billion buyout of Twitter the night before, Mr. Musk gathered several human resource executives in a war room in the company's offices in San Francisco. Prepare for widespread layoffs, he told them, 6 people with knowledge of the discussion had said. Twitter's workforce needed to be slashed immediately. The scope of layoffs was a moving target. Twitter managers were initially told to cut 25% of the workforce, 3 people said. But Tesla engineers who reviewed Twitter's code proposed deeper cuts to the engineering teams. Executives overseeing other parts of Twitter were told to expand their layoff lists. Twitter executives also suggest accessing the list for diversity and inclusion issues so the cuts would not hit all people of color disproportionately and to avoid legal trouble. Mr. Musk's team brushed aside the suggestion, 2 people said. That's a bold move, especially considering that Attorney General Merrick Garland last year launched a discriminating investigation into Musk's SpaceX for allegedly preferring to hire American citizens over non-citizens. Now, just that last part is very key. I mean, the rest of the story is important in my opinion, too. But it's very funny how they're investigating him. And again, I'm not saying Musk is all good. I feel like what he's doing right now is he's playing a very key role in what's supposed to happen. Fully understanding that, I'm not going to claim I do. I don't know if Twitter's going to make it, but I think he's taken control of it, and that's pretty awesome. But the fact that Merrick Garland's pissed at him for hiring U.S. citizens, well, that's interesting. Not to mention China, which, God, for some reason feels like those are maybe some of the non-citizens he's pissed about, aren't able to spy on Musk and what he's doing. They're not able to cheat like they normally would. So I thought that was interesting. Trump has got a lawsuit challenging the January 6th committee subpoena. Says he cannot force a former president to comply. January 6th subpoena asked Trump to hand over certain documents and to testify in a closed-door deposition about the events that took place while he was president, the lawsuit stated. In the past, other presidents have voluntarily agreed to turn over documents or testify in response to a congressional subpoena. However, no president or former president has ever been compelled to do so. For 50 years, it said, the Department of Justice has consistently opined that presidents have absolute immunity against any compulsion to submit to congressional testimony. It's a separate branch of government. It really is. The lawsuit cited the Supreme Court observation that warned that a Congress without limits on its subpoena power could exert an imperious control over the executive branch and aggrandize itself at the president's expense. Separation of powers. Concerns raised by congressional aggrandizements at the expense of the executive branch do not expire when a president leaves office, the suit points out. As a result of the committee's self-described unprecedented action, the President Trump has been put in an untenable position of choosing between preserving his rights and the constitutional prerogatives of the executive branch, or risking enforcement of the subpoena issued to him. This is all the play to get him arrested. That's what this is about. Trump continues to make noise, continues to say the things he does because he's begging them to arrest him. So we've got some interesting financial stuff going on. The Swiss National Bank began unloading its biggest U.S. stock holdings, including Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, Meta. They had over $1.04 trillion tied up in our stock market. And they've taken some losses, a bunch lately, and they're pulling out. It's a bunch of money that they're going to pull out. And this is one of the things that the Swiss banks have done, and we've heard about Credit Suisse having all sorts of issues. I feel like this is them trying to clean that up. But this $1 trillion coming out of our economy, our stock market, is probably going to leave a mark, probably going to sting a little. As I've said numerous times, I'd be very leery about trusting the stock market right now. I'm not your financial advisor, and I don't even want to play one on TV. DRSlikesGold.com. Let my good friends at Goldco offer you some ideas on how you can protect your wealth with precious metals. We've got gold, we got silver, love them both. DRSlikesGold.com. 4 data points, get your wealth protection kit. Talk to people that really, really you care about and understand that I'm about to make a tough decision because I actually think some crazy stuff's coming and I think the central bank's got to come down. So that's Federal Reserve notes. So you're essentially transferring Federal Reserve notes tied up in a stock market that's all sorts of voodoo and hoodoo into an asset that's worth money. No matter what, it's worth something, right? If we're trading shiny rocks, cool, you already got some shiny rocks. If we're trading with U.S. notes or Treasury notes, then you've got something that's worth something, and they'll give you some of those now for that, right? And that's one thing that's great about Goldco as well. They have the highest price buyback guarantee. If you spend over $10,000, they're going to throw some free silver at you. Not literally throw it at you because that might hurt. But it'd be cool if you can catch it, right? DRSlikesgold.com. Protect the wealth. You've spent years putting it together. In fact, you got cash lying around. Again, the prices right now are still reasonably good with gold and silver. DRSlikesgold.com. DRS Likes Gold. 300th bus. That's impressive. That's really, really good. Kanye and Britney Spears both are exposing Hollywood handlers. You see, we're learning a lot of crazy information about the world and the way it works. In fact, Kanye even went so far, I'm not going to play the 2-minute thing, but he goes, wow, listen to Kanye drop truth bombs on how elites are controlled. He says, quote, my mama was sacrificed. Bill Cosby, his son, you're out in Hollywood. A lot of people come up missing. They want to monetize and traumatize. They can control Shaq, Charles Barkley, Jay-Z, and Beyonce, but they can't control me. I've never killed anyone, so I can say whatever I want and not go to jail. That's how they control these guys. They get them to commit crime. Maybe it's a child, maybe it's something, but that's one of the things. I've heard stories about how the 33rd degree Mason step goes when you actually get, you go through your little testing or certification of the process or whatever the hell they call it. There's some interesting choices. I've heard something to the effect of, peeing on Jesus' grave or something like that. And whatever your answer is, they'll tell you it was the right answer. And you either got into the club or you didn't. But you'll think you got into the club either way. It's interesting how demonic and evil these people are. Alec Baldwin suing the Rust crew for negligence in the Halma Hutchins shooting. Everything points to him being at fault, but the gun did have a bullet in it. Not sure who put it there, but now he's suing the cast because, it's their fault. He pointed a gun at somebody and pulled the trigger, never verified. I mean, again, when they hand you the gun, they should be pop, pop, pop. They should be shooting it so dry firing it so there's nothing in it. Why didn't that ever happen? Because if there was a bullet in it and you pointed it at the ground and pulled the trigger, well, shucks, that bullet would have shot out of there into the ground where it belongs. That never happened. Both the handler of the gun should have made sure that happened, as well as the actor. I think if you're going to be pointing weapons at people, you ought to be careful. Now, Amazon unveils a warehouse robot to replace human pickers amid unionized threats. I'm going to say this is good and bad. One of the problems with us costing a lot of money to do some things that a vending machine can do. So I used to work in coffee. That's why it popped into my head. And no offense to anybody that works in coffee, but pretty much a vending machine can be made and programmed to do most of your job very well. And they don't have to pay weird hours. They don't need days off. They don't need to be off at 12 o'clock because they got to go pick their kid up at the school, right? None of that stuff. So this is one of the problems we have with where we're at in the automation cycle in life. Now, there's a good side to that too, which is it allows a lot of us to pursue other avenues that we enjoy so we don't have to work crazy labor. And the question a lot of people would pose would be like, well, what do you like to do? And if you like to do something, maybe either A, you get some education in that subject if you need to, or you start doing it. Because money, maybe, you're already making minimum wage or whatever. Well, start doing something else that you're going to get programmed out of a job. Cashiers at grocery stores, same problem. So this is happening. And again, automating grocery stores, totally happening. Automating stocking the shelves at grocery stores, coming. But Amazon is definitely leading the way in that. And this is happening, folks. Now, our society's evolving. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We are not ever going back to how things were because how things were are what are falling apart and changing right now. The deep state has been controlling how things were for over 100 years. Way longer than that, really, but let's not get lost. At least since 1871. The deep state has been running things. That is ending. And when you take evil out of the mix, well, it changes things dramatically. So again, watching the water, Lake is the key. She really is. We'll see how this plays out. I mean, again, you disagree with me, it's totally cool. But I can't see how they can let her win. And there's no way numerically she can lose. They've got a real problem on their hands. We're going to see it play out. I'm again, don't realize if the bad news comes out, this isn't over. She's even telling you that. She's like, don't worry, we got this covered. Trump's already starting the ball rolling on getting arrested. Things are moving quickly. I don't know how long, how quickly, but we're going to see things start to really play out before our eyes. Now, I'm going to go out with a song that I really, really like. It's Jason Mraz. It's called 93 Million Miles. You might know it, you might not. It's got the lyrics on there. But it's a beautiful song, and I think, to a large extent, kind of talking about where we are right now. I feel like we're going through the nighttime phase. And the nighttime phase, like his lyrics say, is necessary. He says it really beautiful with his lyrics, and I'd like you to check it out. It's a great song. I absolutely love this song. On the front, where we go one, we go all. I forget. When I go out with songs, it messes up my whole mojo, my whole flow. But again, I thank you guys. I love you guys. Keep pushing forward. Understand we're at war. Understand things are not going to play out necessarily how we want them to, but we know this is coming. We know this is coming. Deep state's kind of easy to tell what they're going to do because they've got a very specific path they've got to get to, and they need specific people. It's not real hard to figure out what they're likely going to do. Stay strong, folks. We're getting close. Getting real close. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you got your stuff. Get your freaking money out of the stock market. DRSlikesgold.com. Get your money out of that market. It is not a safe place. And if you've got piles of cash, think about assets. I mean, it could be a house. It could be stuff that's worth something. That's what you want to look into. Equipment counts, tractors. We're going to need all sorts of crazy stuff. Big, giant barrel full of diesel. These are things that would probably be good money. I think you have to put something in it to keep it stable for long periods of time, but whatever.